Well, hey there, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. Or if you're a first-time viewer, welcome to Larry's House of Hockey. It's that time of the that time of the week again. This is week 23 of the power rankings. There's only 3 or 4 weeks left before the end of the regular season, and then my favorite time of the year starts, which is playoffs, of course. So we get into this, of course, starting out at, of course, number 32, kind of a normal spot for them, unfortunately, and it's probably where they'll be probably for the rest of the season, and that's San Jose. Which, by the way, I would not mind seeing them do something with this logo on, say, the front of a jersey. That would look fantastic. But for power rankings, they are number 32. They're kind of in another one of those little ruts again. They've lost again. They're back to these long losing streaks. They've lost 7 in a row again, and they're just, we'll see if they can, maybe if they can get lucky and maybe win the draft lottery. Then that would be at least a decent consolation for them, I guess. But yeah, so San Jose is number 32. Number 31, there's another team that stay in the same spot. They're hoping to do the same thing as San Jose, and that's potentially win the draft lottery. That's Anaheim. So 2 California teams in the bottom, and not great. Again, they're not playing well. They play tough in a lot of different ways, but they're just not. They're with San Jose. They're not that great. Number 30. Now these guys actually drop a spot, and and again, especially these three teams in the bottom, they're looking toward the draft lottery. I mean, that's all they're doing. And again, they didn't win a game at all this week, and that's Columbus. The Blue Jackets would they benefit from getting Macklin Celebrini? Oh yeah, to go with guys like Adam Fantilli and Johnny Gaudreau. Oh yeah, I think Celebrini would be a great addition for them if they can win the draft lottery. But again, this is where, especially these 3 teams, that's all they're really looking for. Number 29, moving up 1 spot. Now, oddly enough, these guys also are looking to potentially win the draft lottery again. And everybody would be real happy for them if they win the draft lottery again, right? I mean, they got Bedard last year, right? Everybody'd be real. I mean, wouldn't everybody just be so pleased if the Blackhawks were to win the draft lottery again, and get Celebrini to go along with Bedard? Everybody be happy, right? No, nobody would be happy. Okay, okay, cool. But Chicago, just like them, just waiting for the draft lottery. Number 28. And these guys drop 1 spot. This is another team that I think they could be definitely waiting for the draft lottery. And it could be interesting if they were to win it. I mean, they won it again a couple years ago, and maybe they'll win it. Maybe they can pull it off again. Montreal. The Habs they play teams tough. They do. They do play teams tough. And it's just, the results aren't there right now. And, who knows if they can win the draft lottery, to go, and they get Celebrini to go along with Slafkovsky and Suzuki and Caulfield. That could make Montreal a very interesting team in the next few years. So Montreal is 28. Number 27. Now these guys dropped 3 spots, and I mean, I think they'll be in the draft lottery too. Would it be kind of neat if they were to win? If they were to win it, yeah, they did. They only went 1-3 on the week. Ottawa. So Ottawa's 27, and Ottawa's they've had their moments. They've had their good moments. They've had their bad moments, and kind of right now, they're kind of in that bad moment again. And I mean, Ottawa, I think they might be in that draft lottery too. I'm not sure exactly where their position could potentially be, but when it comes time for the draft lottery, we'll obviously have to wait and see how far they could move up or even move down. But yeah, Ottawa is 27. Number 26. Now, these guys dropped 3 spots, and yeah, these guys have just kind of. I mean, it was looking like they could maybe find a way to sneak into a playoff spot. Yeah, not right now. Seattle. They've dropped 7 in a row. They've dropped 7 in a row, and it's not been pretty. It has not been pretty, and yeah, Seattle. Last year, maybe some people are thinking maybe last year was a complete aberration. Kind of looking like it that could be the case, but again, they're only in their 3rd year, and you got to think things will get better for Seattle. Things will get better for Seattle here. Maybe next year they have a little run like they had last year. Who knows? We'll have to see, I guess, though. Number 25. Now, these guys actually move up a couple spots, not because they really did anything spectacular. It's just, a couple of teams dropped, so they ended up moving up. Arizona. So the Coyotes are. They're the Coyotes. So, they've got they went through a 14-game losing streak, and they're a team that's interesting. They're interesting. They've got some talent on the team. They're just not, they're not a competitor right now, and they might not be a competitor for a couple of years. They've got a ton of draft picks though, so you got to think, maybe they can move some of those around, bring in some assets, and then figure out whatever the arena thing is if they can win that auction, and yeah. So who knows? But yeah, Arizona is number 25. Number 24. Again, these guys move up a couple spots, not because they really did anything spectacular. They went 1-2 on the week. They've lost 2 in a row. Pittsburgh. So the Penguins are just, I don't know, they were a team that was on the verge of making the playoffs last year. If they could have found a way to beat Chicago just once, it would have been them in the playoffs last year and not Florida. But they couldn't do it. And now this year, they're not going to make the playoffs. And they're just getting worse. It honestly seems like they're just getting worse. And which is sad because they've got a lot of good talent on that team. But they're not good right now, and I don't know what they do. I don't know what they do from here. I don't know where they go from here. But yeah, they got to figure something out. Number 23. And these guys actually dropped 1 spot. They didn't have. They've lost their last 2. It was looking like they were trying to climb back into a playoff spot, and that's kind of vanished again. And that's Buffalo. So the Sabres, of course. Again, they were looking like they might try to climb back into the playoff race, and then yeah, it all fell apart again for them, and which is sad because I really like what the Sabres were trying to do. It was looking like they were going to try to get back into that playoff spot, and it's not going to happen. But you got to think at some point they got to be able to climb back into the playoffs. I'd like to see them get back into the playoffs at some point. I would have loved to have seen it be this year, but alas, I don't see that happening for them this year. Number 22. Now these guys dropped 2 spots. Now these guys were in a playoff spot. They were in a wild card spot not that long ago. Maybe like a week ago? And then they've just kind of dropped out. They went 1-3 on the week. That's the New York Islanders. So the Islanders were looking like a team that could get into that. They overtook the Red Wings for the number 2 wild card spot for like a day, and now they've dropped right back out, and it's not looking fantastic for them. I don't think they're going to make the playoffs. I kind of really don't think they're going to make the playoffs now. And it's sad because I really would love to see the Islanders get in, because I'd love to see what they can do. Because they're one of those teams. They make the playoffs, and they had 2 years in a row where they literally were 1 win away from the Stanley Cup final. But they ran into Tampa both years. So, but again, I'd love to see the Islanders get in. I got a feeling this year it's not going to be the year for them. Number 21. Now these guys actually moved up a few spots. Again, not because of really anything they did, because they only went 2-2 on the week. They did lose their last game, but New Jersey. And again, it's all because some teams will move up because teams ahead of them dropped back, and we saw that with a few of these teams down here. They were up here, now they're down here. So that moves teams that were down here, moves them up here. So New Jersey, of course, they are way worse than I thought they were going to be. And they're just, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see though when I go back after the season's over and I do my comparisons to my preseason predictions on where I had teams where I thought teams would finish in comparison to where they did finish. Oh boy, yeah, it's that's gonna be ugly because there's a number of teams I think I'm gonna definitely be wrong about, and New Jersey was definitely one of them. So New Jersey, number 21 this week, even though they didn't really do a whole heck of a lot to deserve necessarily moving up, but it's just teams ahead of them did worse than they did or had a worse week. Number 20. Now these guys drop a couple spots. They've had a decent run over the last 10 games. They were 6-1-3 in the last 10. They went 1-1-1 on the week. They lost the last game, of course, in overtime, and they lost back-to-back games to the same team, Minnesota. So the Wild, a team that a lot of people think that they still might have a chance to get into a playoff spot. I don't see it. I don't see them getting into that playoff spot. And honestly, even if they did find a way to get into the playoffs, they're going to get stomped again in the first round. So, I don't see Minnesota making the playoffs. Honestly, I mean, as a fan of the Wild, I don't really want to see them make the playoffs because we know what the result's going to be. It's a team from Minnesota. We know what the result's going to be. And, so I'd rather them just not make the playoffs, than get into the playoffs and then just to get destroyed in 4 or 5 games. So Minnesota is number 20. Number 19. Now these guys, they drop a good substantial few spots. They have lost 2 in a row. And again, they dropped 6 spots, but they're still kind of in the chase for a playoff spot. It has kind of diminished a little bit, but Calgary. So the Flames are, a lot of people thought, I'd had them too high the last couple of weeks, which kind of thinking I might have. But so they kind of drop a few spots. I mean, they have lost 2 in a row, and yeah, they're still a ways out of the playoffs. They are a full 12 points behind the number 2 wild card. So I got to think Calgary is not going to make that play. They're not going to get into that playoff spot. They would have to they would have to go on a substantial win streak and have a lot of teams and have the teams ahead of them literally fall back to them. So Calgary, they drop all the way down to 19. Number 18. Now these guys actually move up a couple spots. Now they've won a couple of games, but they also still they're struggling. They're struggling, and they are still, as of right now, they're still in a wild card position as the number 2 wild card, but it's tenuous at best right now. Detroit. So the Red Wings, they are still technically in a playoff spot, but again, like I said, it's tenuous at best. Washington is right there. The New York Islanders, of course, even though they've lost a few games, the Islanders are right there to potentially get into that wild card spot. And it's not out of the realm of possibility either for either the Capitals or even maybe the Islanders to get into that 3rd spot in the division. But yeah, Detroit right now is the number 2 wild card. And can they maintain that? We'll have to see. Number 17. Now these guys stay in the same spot. They went. What have they done? They've won 2 in a row. They're 2-1. They went 2-1 on the week, and they're kind of flip flopping right now with Detroit, and it's Washington. So the Capitals, and again, they're right there with Detroit. They were in a playoff spot a couple days ago. Then they've dropped. Then Detroit overtook them again, and Detroit is currently in that wild card spot. But Washington is right there, and Washington is only 4 points behind Philadelphia for 3rd in the division. So could Washington still get in the playoffs and not be a wild card? Yeah, it's possible. But will it happen? I don't know. But yeah, Washington's been looking decent, and it's entirely possible that they maybe find a way to sneak into that last playoff spot, or find a way to overtake Philly and get into 3rd in the Metro. We'll have to wait and see. Number 16. Now these guys have done well. They've moved up 3 spots. They've been on a nice little run. They went 3-1 on the week. They've won their last 2. Granted, their last 2 have been against Minnesota, but it's St. Louis. The Blues are a team. They're chasing that. They're trying to chase down a playoff spot too, because they're only 4 points behind Vegas for the number 2 wild card spot. Only 4 points. And I still think that would be unbelievable if somehow or another one of these teams behind Vegas overtook Vegas and knocked them out of the playoffs. Oofta. Could St. Louis be that team? It's entirely possible. Number 15. Now these guys drop 1 spot. They did go 2-0-1 on the week. They did lose. They did lose a game in overtime this week. And yeah, they ended up dropping 1 spot. And they're 3rd place in their division. But again, it's tenuous. Philadelphia. So the Flyers, like I said, they're still third. They're still third in the Metro, but they need to win some games here. If they want to maintain that spot, they need to start winning some more games here. I mean, they're winning some, but it's kind of, it's a lot of people are still thinking they're going to be the team to drop out, and they just, they had their captain healthy scratch the last couple of games. He came back into the game tonight, but still, it's Philadelphia's, they got to try to hang in. They got to try to hold on to that spot in whatever way they can to get into the playoffs. And can they do it? We'll have to see. Number 14. Now this team moved up 2 spots. They played well recently. They went 3-1 on the week. They have won their last 2, which is why they ended up moving up a couple spots. Vegas. So the defending champions, the Knights, they are still the number 2 wild card right now in the Western Conference. They are 2 points behind LA for third in the division. So, they're 4 points up on St. Louis for the wild card spot. And they're only 2 points behind LA for third in the division. So, it's entirely possible Vegas might not end up with a wild card spot. They might end up third in the division. And we'll have to wait and see what exactly they do. But yeah, I mean, Vegas, they've got a little bit of separation right now. Not a whole ton, but they also do have 1 game in hand on St. Louis and Minnesota. So we'll have to see what they can do there. But yeah, right now they're number 14, and they've got that playoff spot right now. We'll see if they can hang on to it. Number 13. Now this team moves up a couple spots too, and they're staying ahead of Vegas right now. And they've been on a nice little run here. They've won 3 straight. LA. So the Kings, winners of 3 in a row, have kept them ahead of Vegas. They've stayed ahead of Vegas, and they're currently third in the division, and if they want to stay ahead of Vegas, they need to make sure that they keep winning. They got to make sure they keep winning. So to at least maintain that third position. So will they do it? Yeah, we'll see. Right now they're hanging on to it. Number 12. Now this team's dropping 3 spots, and man, if they're not careful, they may drop into a wild card spot. This was a team that had the best record in the league at one point, not that long ago, and now they've lost a couple in a row, and they're not looking great. Winnipeg. The Jets they're still competing with Dallas and Colorado for first in the division. But if they're not careful, the way that Nashville is playing right now, it's entirely possible Nashville could catch them. So if Winnipeg is not careful, they need to start putting some wins together, because if they drop into they end up dropping into a wild card spot, which is entirely possible right now. I don't know. I mean, with the way the Predators are playing, it's entirely possible that Nashville possibly catches Winnipeg. But yeah, so Winnipeg is dropped into the second row, and yeah, they got to find a way to turn that around. Number 11. Now these guys stay in the same spot. Even though they've lost 2 in a row, they didn't really move up. They didn't really move down. Loses 2 in a row, but they're still in first place in their division. That's Boston. So the Bruins, are, again, they're in first place in their division. And can they hang on to that first place in their division? I mean, possibly. I mean, because they've played 2 more games than the team that's in second. So, can they hang on to first place in the division? I think they can, but it won't surprise me if they don't. But I mean, the Bruins, they're hanging in right now, and it's crazy to think that they have as many overtime or shootout losses as they have regulation losses. So, we'll see if the Bruins can maintain their spot there. And yeah. So, number 10. Now these guys move up a couple spots, and they're starting to. This could be a team that if they make the playoffs, oh brother, they went 2-0-1. They did lose their last game in overtime. Watch out for Tampa. Here come the Lightning. So the Lightning are playing really well right now. They have the number 1 wild card. I don't know if they can. I don't know if they'll necessarily move up into the conversation of getting third in the division. I don't think so. Because, as a matter of fact, I'm pretty sure they won't, because in order to make third in the division, they're 16 points behind Toronto. So yeah, they're not getting third in the division. Excuse me. But they've got the wild card spot right now. And, I think they're definitely going to make the playoffs. And, come playoff time, who knows? It'll be very, very interesting to see what they can do come playoff time. And, to see who their opponent might be, which would be very, very interesting. But yeah, Tampa right now is number 10. Number 9. Now this team drops 3 spots. They haven't done. I mean, they went 2-1 on the week, and they went 2-1 on the week. They did lose their last game to a team that has not appeared on the board yet, but considering the way they started, they're second in their division. That's Edmonton. So the Oilers, they're out of the top row, but they're still hanging in. They're still hanging in, and they're doing well. And come playoff time, I mean, right now they'd be playing LA again for the 3rd year in a row, and we'll have to see what they can do. But considering where they started the year, they're doing pretty well. I don't see them catching Vancouver in the division. I mean, they're 10 points behind them, so I don't really see them catching Vancouver. But they're still playing well. Number 8. Now these guys, they dropped 4 spots, even though they've won 2 in a row. They've won 2 in a row, but some of these other teams, they passed them. They just got past Toronto. The Leafs, they've played well and had a big win tonight against the Oilers. Big win. And again, they're playing well. And again, a lot of people had said, you got the Leafs too high. Again, though, it's not, because they're like, well, look where they are in the standings. It's, when it comes to power rankings, it's not about the standing. It's how they're playing this week. It's how a lot of these teams have played this week. And Toronto's played well. They went 2-1 on the week. They've won 2 in a row. But there's some teams here that have just, they've just overtaken them. And, they're still in the top row. But yeah. So, the Leafs are number 8 this week. Number 7. Now, these guys move up 1 spot. These guys have played well. They won all 3 games this week. They're on a 3-game winning streak. They're 7-2-1 in the last 10. And they do have that 10-point lead in their division, and that's Vancouver. So the Canucks, they're just 2 points away from 100. Did anybody really see that coming from them this year? I didn't. I didn't see that from them at all this year. And it's really cool to see what Vancouver's doing. They're playing really well. And again, come playoff time, what can they do? And this is where I think it would be interesting, because it's entirely possible that first round matchup could be them and Vegas. If it's Vancouver and Vegas in the first round, I'm sorry, I don't favor Vancouver in that. I think it'd be great. I think it'd be great to see them make a run. But again, they end up seeing Vegas in the first round. Oofta. But, still, they're in the top row, and, they're sitting number 7 right now. Number 6. Now, these guys, they just kind of keep moving up. And they're on an insane run right now. They have got a 17-game point streak. They're literally 15-0-2 in their last 17 games. And, of course, it is the team that I'm wearing, Nashville. Is there any team in the Western Conference right now that is going to want to see the Nashville Predators? I saw on, I think it was a Colorado Avalanche fan page, somebody actually put up a poll and said, who would you like to see the Avalanche play in the first round? They had Nashville, they had Winnipeg, I think Vegas was in there. There was one other team. I think Edmonton was one that they talked about. Or no, it was Dallas. And they're like, who would you like to see in the first round? Who would you like to see Colorado play in the first round first? And I was shocked. The majority of the people in that poll said Nashville. And I thought, are you guys out of your ever-loving minds? The way the Nashville Predators are playing right now, you're wanting to see Nashville in round one? Like, I kept thinking, do you not remember last year getting taken out by Seattle? I thought they're out of their minds. They're out of their minds. People who voted in that poll saying, we'd rather see Nashville in the first round instead of Dallas or Winnipeg. And it's like, what? Yeah, I was shocked. I could not believe it when I saw that. So, yeah, that shocked the hell out of me when I saw that. Like, oh, yeah, we'd rather play Nashville in round one. You'd rather play a team that's gone 15-0-2 in their last 17 games? Really? Okay. All right. We'll see if that happens. We'll see if that ends up happening. Could it? It's entirely possible. And if that does end up being the first round, I will look forward to seeing that, because I would find it absolutely hilarious to see, Colorado all of a sudden, all their fans going, "Yep, we want to see Nashville." Be a lot like the Toronto Maple Leaf fans last year chanting, "We want Florida." How'd that work out for you? How'd that work out for the Leafs? Colorado fans chanting, "We want Nashville." I could see a very similar fate happen. I really could, because Nashville they're on a roll right now. They're not quite in the top 5, but they're number 6 right now. Number 5. Now these guys, they've dropped 3 spots. They're not looking that great right now. They are not looking that great right now, and I don't know. I mean, they were looking so good for a while, and now they're not looking that great. They've lost 4 in a row now. Florida. So the Panthers I'm trying to figure out what is going on with the Panthers. I don't know. They had first place in the division locked up relatively. It was looking good. They were looking like they would have first place. Well, now they're not first place, but they're still second place in the division. But man, Florida, they gotta get their stuff together, because they're not looking that great right now. And a team like Toronto, with the way the Leafs are playing right now, I mean, you compare the Leafs and the Panthers right now. That'd be a first round matchup. I don't know if Florida win that one right now with the way they're playing. But yeah, I mean, the Panthers, it's kind of a little bit of a blip that they've hit, a little bit of a rut that they're in, and I got to think they'll get out of that at some point. But yeah, they gotta get that turned around. They gotta get that turned around quick. Number 4. Now this team moves up 3 spots. These guys have played really well. 3-0-1 on the week. They lost their last game in a shootout. They're 8-1-1 in the last 10. Carolina. So the Hurricanes are playing really well right now. They are trying to catch the New York Rangers for first place in the Metro. They are a little. I mean, they're right there. They could still overtake the Rangers for first in the Metro, but again, you do notice the New York Rangers aren't up here yet. But Carolina, they're playing well. They're playing really well, and yeah, they're just, can they catch the New York Rangers for first in the Metro? We'll have to wait and see. Number 3. Now this team stays in the same spot again. They went 2-0 in the week. They're 8-2 in the last 10. They've won 3 in a row. And again, which a lot of people would say, well, why wouldn't they move up? Dallas, they stay third again. And it's just, they don't really move up, because even though they're playing well, the 2 teams that are ahead of them, to me, are just playing that much better. And the 2 teams ahead of them are just playing unbelievable right now. That's why Dallas doesn't really move up any. But they're still in the top 3. And are they still going to be a team that could be dangerous come playoff time? Oh yeah. Number 2. This team drops 1 spot. They went 3-1 on the week, 7-3 in the last 10. They've won 2 in a row also. They dropped 1 spot though, the New York Rangers. So the Rangers are number 2 this week, after being number 1 the last couple of weeks. And yeah, the Rangers, they're fighting to stay ahead of Carolina. And will they be able to stay ahead of Carolina? We'll have to wait and see. But right now it's close, and yeah. So we'll have to see what the Rangers can do from here. Can they hold off Carolina? We'll have to find out. And number 1, I think they kind of deserve to be number 1. They won both games this week. They've won 8 straight, and I just talked about them and their fan base, about how crazy I thought it was that they wanted to play Nashville in the first round. But I got them number 1 this week. It's Colorado. The Avalanche are just playing. They're playing out of their minds right now. They really are. They're playing insane. They're playing really, really good, and they're just they're looking like a team that come playoff time could win it all. I could very easily see them come out of the Western Conference. And it's weird. They're a team, I could see them come out of the West and playing for the Stanley Cup. Or I could see them be a team that loses in the first round. It just depends on what kind of Colorado Avalanche team do we see. Do we see an Avalanche team that just a few weeks ago, was losing 3 or 4 in a row, or are we going to see a Colorado team come playoff time like we're seeing now? The Colorado team we're seeing now could win the whole thing, absolutely. But will they? Well, we got about another 4. We got about another 4 weeks before that fun starts. But as of this week, for right now, this week, and the way they're playing fantastic. Colorado to me is the number 1 team this week, and yeah. So let me know what you guys think. Let me know how crazy you think I am for having some of these teams where I have them, and yeah. So please like this video. It'd be greatly appreciated. Also, please subscribe to the channel. That would also be very greatly appreciated. And again, let me know what teams you think I have. What teams do you think I have too high? What teams do you think I have too low? And what teams do you think maybe are kind of in right where they should be? So let me know what you guys think. Again, be greatly appreciated. It would be so awesome if you would hit the like button, hit that subscribe button. Also, if you feel like sharing the video, with this video or any other video with friends, with family, whoever, go ahead, share the videos with whoever you would like, and yeah, again, let me know who do you think is too high, too low, or just right. Hit like and subscribe. I'll see y'all later.